3, 2, 1.
Hey, here we go.
How we doing, Gabe?
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Pretty good.
That's good to hear, buddy. So I wanted to bring something to light that you guys don't particularly know about. Quite a few people know about it already, but you two specifically do not. And
okay.
I didn't necessarily keep it from you, but it's just something that happened really recently that affected a lot of people up at NDSU. So a really good buddy of mine, Pierce Queen, we went to Europe together. We went all around Denmark. We did that study abroad thing. We both went to ICC, and we both eventually transferred to NDSU.
Oh, dang. So you
Hung
really
out with
know this
him.
guy, yeah.
Hung out with him quite a bit, and yeah, he was a really good friend of mine. Great guy, really nice, really sweet. And on Saturday night, he was hit and killed by a drunk driver in Fargo while he was riding his motorcycle back from a wedding.
Oh, wow.
And it's been really difficult for these past couple days. That's why I had to cancel on the podcast for Dylan.
Yeah, I'm Bailey.
Yeah, so we're all drinking hams in memory of Pierce because this was his favorite beer. And yeah, that was just something I really wanted to bring to the table because it's really crazy how fast it happened. I just got a call on Saturday morning from a good friend of mine, Jenna, and she just told me flat out right when I was in the McDonald's drive-thru for breakfast that Pierce was hit and killed in Fargo, and it just like my whole world was completely rocked. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up wasn't just because it happened so soon and because this episode is going to be a tribute to him, but I know you've been going through a little bit of a rough patch recently, Gabe, and losing someone so close to me, so fucking close, that I couldn't do another person. I couldn't do another friend being gone. And I know it's heavy to come out like this on an episode like this. It is really fucking heavy and it fucking hurts. But I feel like it's something that needs to be said and something that should be said. Because, I mean, we've all been a little reckless in our life and we've all done dumb things, but it's
I've definitely done some stupid things. Oh, well, I guess I'm sorry for your loss, and I guess I'd first just like to say I've never been happier to drink a hams. I'm glad that you got to know that guy. I'm glad that he was in your life, made a positive impact, and here's to Pierce.
God, why did he have to run such shitty beer?
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, man. That's crazy, and yeah, that's astonishing. I think that at least like in recent memory, I don't think I don't think we've lost any of like our good friends until like this point for you. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I think I can I understand how that sudden loss is, but not necessarily quite like that. And yeah, I'm sorry about that, man.
Yeah,
and I'm glad you wanted to bring me on for this one. That means a lot.
Yeah, it's that was the thing, he always would hit me up like every other podcast and be like, when are we doing our episode? And I told him that right when I got to Fargo, which is, in 2 days for me.
Yeah.
That we were gonna do one. It's really unfortunate. It happened so sudden too. The drunk driver ran a stop sign and essentially T-boned him. And then after that happened, the driver swerved into a lamppost or like a light pole or something, and then the passenger of the vehicle died as well.
Oh,
and
really?
It was just a friend of his. Yeah, they were all kids. Pierce was only 22. The guy who is now in jail for driving under the influence and committing
vehicular
manslaughter.
Yeah, I think that's what
2 counts. Yeah, he was only 22 and the passenger is 25.
Oh, really? So it's just all a bunch of young guys?
Yeah, all bunch of kids. It's really unfortunate. And I've dealt with death a lot in my past. I've had family members who have died from old age. I've had family members who have died from suicide, family members who have died from cancer, but I've never had a friend go. And personally, it's not something I think anyone should experience. Because family members, that's going to happen. Your grandparents are going to get old. They're going to pass, but when someone so young with so much potential who's made such a large impact on your life when they just, you know, they're here 1 minute and they're gone the next. It's really...
Yeah, literally. It's kind of crazy just how fast, like, stuff like that can happen.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you know this firsthand as well. And it's tough. It's fucking the toughest goddamn thing I've ever done in my life is be able to move on after something like this.
So was he from North Dakota then, or?
No, he was actually from Roseau, Minnesota.
Oh, he's a Minnesota guy. Okay.
Yeah. Smartest motherfucker you'd ever meet. Honestly, dude. He used to just sit in class and, like, barely take notes and barely pay attention and still walk away with, like, a easy 4.0.
Yeah, one of those guys.
Oh, God.
Lucky.
He was so intelligent. And just such a solid, nice guy, too. Like, he was a little wild. Obviously, he liked to do crazy shit. But
yeah, what smart person doesn't, though? God, like, all the smart people we know and all the crazy stories, yeah.
I know. It's fucking wild. Some people, man. But what I've noticed in the past couple of days is, like, the biggest issue for me was, like, the way I dealt with my grandfather's death. I fell heavily into alcohol and drugs pretty bad, and that was, like, senior year of high school into my freshman year of college. That was really, really difficult for me. With my aunt passing, that was difficult for me to get out of.
Yeah.
Was that root of constantly being drunk every single night before I went to bed, or constantly being high throughout the day so I could just function and not think about it.
Yeah.
But with my aunt, I tried a different approach. I tried to stay sober for however many days I think I did. I think I stayed sober for like 30 days. No nicotine, nothing when she passed, and that was...
Ugh, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what could be harder. I don't know. Sometimes when I've, like, cut out, like, a lot of things, it's just like, yeah, your mind's just going. There's more things spinning about. It's you just can kind of get into like a bad cycle too. It's just like, especially sometimes in my mind, it's just like it's on like attack mode every like second unless I'm like really doing something. So just like being by myself, like in situations of loss like that, when you've been trying to like prop yourself up on something and then just like cutting it out.
Mm-hmm. That's...
Yeah, I can... Yeah,
you
can see why you might have went to that in the first place. Even it's just like a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, and it's really like keeping myself preoccupied so I don't think about it. That's the thing. Like, you have to think about it to a certain extent, but if it's completely consuming your life, like, it's so hard to just move on from something like that. It's so difficult. It's just like completely painstaking. It feels like every single task that you do just has a weight with it, right? Has like something just constant. It's anything. It could be like just getting out of bed in the morning and just thinking about them instantly when you wake up, or having a dream about them. It's you wake up that morning and there's like a 45-pound weight on your chest, and it's just the worst fucking feeling.
Yeah,
it's just to lose someone so close, and this is not the closest person I've lost, but definitely the youngest.
Yeah.
And that's the most fucked up part about it, is that
and that can hurt like just as much, because
and I'm not saying it doesn't have to be like, for you lost your mom, and I couldn't even fathom that. But at the same time, like, you can't disregard a loss of a friend, or like your grandfather or your aunt or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm. And just because most of your friends, like, pretty much our family, it seems like most of the time too, so.
And everyone goes through the grieving process, whether it's your dog that dies, or, you know, a very close relative or a very close friend. Everyone goes through that process, and that's just something I really want to bring up, is that depression can be completely situational. It can be, you know, a situation that you're thrown into, and then depression can just overtake your entire life. It can make it difficult to, you know, stay motivated. It can have a serious impact on your health. You can stop going to the gym. Like, that whole day, when I found out, I didn't go to the gym that day. Probably cried all day long. I barely ate.
Yeah.
Instantly when I found out,
That's like the craziest thing too. You just like run out of appetite. It's
yeah.
just like, you either have to be told to eat, or it's just, I don't know. I just remember the first like couple of days, I was like the most asked question I got is like, had I eaten? And then even it was weird. Like my brother said, he like asked me like had I showered, and like it been like 5 days, and I was like no. And it's just like you kind of just like stop and like freeze. It's just like life altering, like just that big like shift and trying to figure out like
how to. It's like yeah, I'm just trying to.
God, did we not? Last Cloquet episode, super professional.
Super professional. Yeah. Yeah, there really is. There really is like a weight to it. You know, that's what I was saying. Like everything's so much harder, and you just forget about to like do just the basic necessities, like brush your teeth and like take a shower and eat, and your whole.
It's just like staying like active is probably one of like moving. I guess is probably like one of the best things you could do. Even like a lot of things to take your mind off it. I guess.
It's a disposable. Yeah, that's really it. Is like you just need to find something to preoccupy yourself. And that's what I've always noticed is like I've always used, drugs and alcohol as like something to preoccupy my brain so I don't have to think about it. Something as like a mind-altering substance. But like what I've recently been doing is kind of delving into the gym as much as possible. And I'm not saying it's better for me because there's a certain point where you can work out too much and it can be very unhealthy for you. But just the distraction itself and surrounding yourself with people with loved ones.
Yeah, that too.
Those are like the two biggest things I think that help me get over, all the losses that I've had in my lifetime, the unfortunate, losses and your unfortunate losses, right?
Yeah,
it's really easy to.
Unplugged. Come on. It's really fucked to get back in there.
Radiating with professionalism. I love this.
This episode, yeah.
Nah, it's awesome.
It wasn't necessarily thrown together. It definitely started out on a very soft and depressing note.
Oh, yeah.
This episode did. But...
there was definitely, like, a point in time, like, immediately after and for, like, months just following where, yeah, like, all I would do was just, like, sit and drink. Like... That's really, like, all I could do at that point. But, I don't know. Just to talk about loss and, like, how you said, like, it's just the first thing you, like, wake up feeling. It's just, like, when the person you lose was such, like, a big facet in your life and, like, really, before you, like, without you even realizing, like, built up so much of your life and then, like, made up so much of your life, I guess is a better way to put it. And then, like, it's just gone. It's just, like, kind of, like, starting over and... like trying to figure out how to like proceed forward, I guess, if that makes sense. And I don't remember.
Said it perfectly.
I don't even remember like what the quote was, but it's just like the mind, in order to like keep its sanity, will like cover up these wounds with scars. They'll never fully heal, but like within time, like. You can sort of, like, exist. Because, like, yeah, the first couple of times, or, I mean, the first couple, like, months or, like, weeks, whatever, like, depending on how, like, this loss has affected you, it's just, like, everything just kind of stops. I don't know.
Yeah, it really does feel that way.
I lost it, but, yeah, essentially that, yeah.
I get what you're saying when you say everything just kind of stops.
Yeah,
and that was like the
you don't necessarily want to like pick up and build. I don't know. It's just like, like within the grieving process, it's always the first couple of bits of it's hard, but like gradually it gets better.
And that's just time itself.
Yeah.
That's just healing. But
okay.
Yeah, when you said like everything stops, that's exactly how it felt when I was in the drive-thru at McDonald's. When I got the phone call, and it was just like, I was sitting at the window and the lady was like, "Sir, can I, take your order?" And I just like, I didn't even hear it. And I just like sat there and stared right in front of me. And like 3 cars in the other drive-thru like went by before I could even like think, before I could even process what I was hearing. And it just, it felt like my entire world just stopped. Like, I thought about just leaving. I thought about just going and just, like, leaving and just never, ever coming back. Just going somewhere I didn't care where at the time. I just thought about just going and just driving away. And just whatever happens, happens. And that's like the hardest thing is to come back down from that mindset and realize, like, I put myself in Pierce's shoes, and I've done it, ever since I've heard about it. Is that, like, what if that happened to me? Like, what if my friends were feeling what I'm feeling right now about me being gone? Or what if my parents are, grieving my loss? And it's just, it makes me have a lot larger positive outlook on what I should be doing. Because my goal now is to be there for the people that need me. And my goal now is to help those who are much closer to Pierce than I ever could have been. And that's basically like my goal now is to, and for the fact that, if he is looking down on me currently, he saw me cry enough and he's probably already calling me a pussy. So,
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is like, I just try to take it in the most positive light I can. And fucking, it sucks. And it sounds like I'm kind of heartless, honestly, that I'm not like, entirely shattered by what happened. Don't get me wrong, I am.
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't know. It's not always just healthy to totally feed into the one side. Yeah, it's good to like establish a positive goal and like work for it and aim for it quicker enough. I wish I did that like in the beginning.
Yeah, and it took like six close family deaths for me to understand like how to deal with something like this. It took a lot of failures of me falling into pits of self-deprecation and just fucking drugs and alcohol and being fucked up constantly, not giving a shit about the world, not giving a shit about myself. Couldn't have cared less if I died tomorrow, honestly, in most of those situations. But then like coming back and realizing after all that happened, like I had to basically ground myself and realize like I'm not going to be here forever. But all I know is that when we die, the ones who are still here will miss us.
Yeah.
And that's the only... You were going to say something earlier, Joe? But, yeah, it's...
Well, I just want to say, like, it's really easy to, for people, if you're going through grief or depression or something like that, it's really easy to not talk to your loved ones about it, or kind of just keep to yourself, because I mean it's just so natural to do that. And reaching out to your friends and your family really probably really helps you a ton. I think I haven't really gone through a lot of really personal deaths in my life, but I can see where that comes from.
Yeah. And that's the truth. Yeah, it's other people, really. Surrounding yourself with the ones who are, still around, and it's like all your love and support and everything helps everyone get through the process, because I mean, to be frank, Pierce isn't here anymore. He doesn't have to deal with this. And that's just the stone cold hard truth. And it was hard for me to even say that, but at the same time, like, we're the ones who are hurting currently. And the ones who are closest to Pierce need the most help. And that's my mission, is basically help them as much as I possibly can. So I'll be attending the funeral in Roseau on Friday at the Roseau Baptist Church. And that's going to be tough. But even then, we got to try our best to stay strong.
Yeah, I think I'll be down in the area. I think I'm probably gonna be staying with like Ty and Seb down there, so we'll drink some. I'll make sure he gets or I'll buy some hams. We'll drink some hams for him.
That's good. Yeah, this was fucking nasty. He told me a story one time of when he was coming back from Michigan visiting his girlfriend that he had at the time. He was coming back from Michigan and he saw at a liquor store in, I think, Appleton, Wisconsin, that hams were on sale for $9 a 30 rack.
Oh my God.
And so he bought 6 of them and drove all the way back to North Dakota with them in his fucking truck. I remember I rolled up. The reason I found out was because I had to stay at his place for a career fair the next day. I had to stay at his place there because we weren't going to the career fair, and I had to get there on my own. So I stayed at his house, and I look over in the corner of the room, and there's just 6 stacked cases of hams and 1 case of Hams Light. It was 1 case of Hams Light and fucking 6 cases of Hams.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's really, it's such a fucked up situation. And there were so many people that he knew and he was close to. But I mean, at this point, it's more of like a celebration of his life rather than a grieving of his death, because that's one way to get through. And like, I look at how people grieve, specifically like how people grieve in their own way, and I used to judge it. When I was really young, I would see, you know, my aunt's fiance, he didn't cry once at her funeral. And it was just like, it was super weird for me to see that. I was like, that was your, you know, that was basically your wife. The only reason they didn't get married was because she had cancer. And she didn't want all of her bills to get dumped onto him. So it just, like, the way he was grieving was much different than, like, the entire family was. Much different than I was. I was grieving different than my dad was. My grandma was grieving different than my uncles were. It was just, it was weird. And I used to judge people for not crying. I used to judge people for laughing. I used to judge people for, like, not being so melancholy, like, necessary, just at the funeral in general. But after experiencing this one, it's like, I can't judge people for the way they grieve anymore. Because I caught myself the other day, I was listening to, fuck was I listening to? And it just brought me back to, like, the Denmark days. And there's this car that's made in France. It's called a Peugeot, but it's spelt like Pwaget. And that's what we used to call them when we were in Denmark. And Pierce was the first one to call it that. And I just caught myself thinking about it. Like, when he pointed it out, he's like, does that car say Pwaget? When he pointed that out to me, I just started fucking, like, laughing in my car, just hysterically, because I thought it was funny. And it's just like, you know, at that moment in time, it was probably 6 hours after I found out. I should have been crying. But I was grieving in a different way.
Yeah.
And reach out to people.
Oh, definitely. That's important.
Yeah.
No, I just remember it was just like my mindset early on was to, like, yeah, try to show as little, like, emotion or, like, what I perceived to be as weakness at the time. It's just like everybody, give me a little bit of that. Just like everybody around me needed somebody, like, especially just like her parents, like my grandparents, just like a lot of people around me needed me to be like something that was hard to put on myself and mostly put on myself by myself. But, like, the way I perceive to be is just like, you need to be strong. You need to be, like, that shoulder to cry on. You can do all your grieving, like, behind closed doors, like, by yourself. And no, I get that. And there are definitely moments I can remember where, like, just, like, the reality was too much to, like,
deal with.
Yeah, you keep, like, a straight face, just, like, not show anything at certain points. But yeah, no, people grieve different ways, and I don't really. I guess it's weird looking back, because I don't know if I would really have changed anything. It's just, like, kind of a way I always have been.
Yeah, that was. Oh, excuse me, this fucking beer is nasty. Sorry, Pierce.
Hams.
Sorry, Pierce. I just don't like it. That was the toughest thing for when I found out about my grandpa. That was really tough for me because, like, when I found out, my grandpa already had a bad heart, and we didn't expect him to last much longer. As much as fucked up as that sounds, like, it was kind of, like, forthcoming. We could definitely see that he wasn't going to make it for, like, the next few years. And then my dad came home from, like, this 4-wheeling trip that he was on, and he was crying his eyes out. I instantly knew, you know, Grandpa's gone. And we hugged, we cried, and, like, my first thought was, like, I'm going to go see my cousins, I'm going to go see my grandmother, I'm going to go see, you know, my aunts and uncles, I'm going to be there for everybody, I'm going to be the strong person to help everybody get through this, I'm going to let everybody talk to me, I'm going to listen as much as I can. And then my dad told me that my grandpa shot himself. And it just, like, my whole world flipped upside down. At that moment, I just sheltered myself completely, entirely. I threw myself onto my bed. I barely left my room. I didn't smile at school once for 3 days. 3 days after it happened. The only time I actually smiled was when Max came up to me and he said, "T-Russ, I'm worried about you. Grab my ass so I know you're okay." That's what he said. And that was, like, the first time I actually smiled at school. But I was really fucked up about it. And when I went to the funeral, I like hyped myself up. I was like, all right, I'm going to see all my family for the first time since I've heard about this. And I was like, I'm going to be strong for my grandma. I'm going to be strong for my sister. I'm going to be strong for my dad. And then I saw my grandma and she hugged me. And I wanted to say, you know, everything's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. You know, I wanted to say something that would have comforted people. But all I could say, the only thing I could say, and it's the last thing I wanted to say, was I miss him so much. And that was because I did. And there was nothing I could do to stop myself from saying that to her. And that was the last thing I wanted to fucking say. Death is such a weird thing, man.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I think like the first like significant loss I can remember was like my grandpa, and then I just really had it like in a. I wish like it had like more of a mellow order to it. I just went from like losing my grandpa when I was like 8, and then just to my mom. So it's just like kind of crazy, like not necessarily completely different, but it felt completely different, and sort of like the paradigm change that happened. But yeah, no, I just remember like. Yeah, because, like, obviously I was, like, 8 at the time, I think, or about to be 8, something like that. It happened on, like, the 12th of December, which kind of sucked, because my birthday sucked.
Yeah, I bet it did. That's really fucked up.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it was just weird. Like, everybody was just, like, at our house for a little bit, like, I think immediately after, and, like, he was on, like, it was kind of fucked. He was on, like, blood thinners or something. And so he was just, like, walking down the stairs, and then he fell. And because he was on blood thinners, they, like, couldn't stop the bleeding. So, like, there was, like, nothing they could really do for him. They just... Everybody got to say, like, goodbye to him and everything. But, yeah, it's just, like, one of those things. Just, like, well,
God,
that's unfortunate. Potentially avoidable, but, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's just, like, weird. I just remember, like, the one... I don't know. I couldn't really do much for them then, but it's... Just like, yeah, the first things, like, you want to say, it might not necessarily be, like, the best things, but, like, yeah, it's just all you can think about. It's just, like...
Yeah.
The fact that they're gone, yeah, it's just... It's weird.
It is super weird. And that was the most fucked up thing, too, was, like, when I would get messed up, I would get just absolutely obliterated before I'd go to bed. And then, like, I'd wake up and I wouldn't dream at all. Like, I would have no dream whatsoever. And it felt awesome. I was like, yeah, like, I'm ready to, you know... Well, I didn't feel awesome, but it felt better than having a dream. And then the night where I ran out of weed and I ran out of booze. This was freshman year of college, too. And I was like, well, I'm going to bed sober, I guess. And so I just passed out, and I had, like, the most vivid dream of, like, my grandfather, like, driving his old truck out to his property on a river where we used to go fishing all the time. And I had, like, this super wicked, vivid dream of, like, me and him fishing. And, like, I woke up fucking at, like, 3 a.m. just in tears. Just crying so hard in my sleep because it was so vivid and such an aggressive dream. Like, him constantly telling me he's proud of me and shit like that. It was just so fucking aggressive. And that's why, like, personally, I don't think if I have to deal with another death, I don't think I'll fall back into alcohol and drugs again, because the coming off of it is the most it's harder to deal with than the death itself, in my opinion. But
like coming off of
like getting fucked up every night and going to sleep that way, and then having, you know, a week long of super vivid dreams because you haven't dreamt in like 3 months.
Yeah, I haven't.
Well, you're not like dealing with it when you're getting fucked up all the time.
No, you're not.
Yeah, that's not the best way to deal with it, but man, I can tell you sometimes it really feels like the only way to deal with things.
Oh yeah. It really does feel it. That's how it felt for me. It felt like the only way.
Like right in the moment. I don't know. It's just like, God damn it, use your words. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I had some like weird dreams like that too. Like, I remember at one point, like, we didn't actually say like words necessarily, but like I had just like dream like months after like my grandpa died, where like I thought I saw him, but we were just in like this whole white place that like I perceived as heaven. And like, yeah, it was just like super vivid. Like you can see somebody and you know it's them, and then it's just like, yeah, it's like a step further than a dream. And then I've only seen my mom, I think, 3 or 4 times in my dreams, because like I'm not getting like fucked up every night and like drinking and doing that stuff. Like that was like 6 months of year 1. We're about in year 2. I think we have, what's it, the 16th today?
It's the 18th today.
18th today, then 4 more days and it'll be 2 years. But yeah, I don't know. I think I've only seen her like 4 times in my dreams, and like it really just like depends like when I go to sleep, because sometimes if it's super late, then no, thank you. It'll just be like cut straight to black. I'll wake up, but yeah, it's just like it like one time it was just like random, like you know how you have like some like crazy weird dream or often some like weird yet familiar place, and then it's just like, yeah, I think I saw her and George there one time. But like the other 3 times had only been at my grandparents' house, which is why I felt like it had like some sort of significant value. You know how sometimes you have recurring dreams and they're supposed to mean something, but yeah, I also think like I do think like super vivid dreams like that might be like that way of that person saying or trying to say something. And I've also like tried to like think of what that could mean. And after that, like dream about my grandpa, I think remember when we had to do those stories in Richardson's about like the legacy or whatever? Do you remember that? Did you either you had Richardson or whatever? It was like a contest. It was like something about a life. You're supposed to try to write like this person's like life story or background in
Yeah,
like a page
it
or
was
less.
like freshman year.
I think I might have extended past Richardson too. So
Yeah, I'd craft it for her. I remember
yeah,
doing that.
I want to say like almost everybody did it.
Like whose shoulders you stand on?
Potentially. Maybe something like that, because yeah, I was just like interview somebody and like try to tell like their life story, and like there's importance in like a page or less or something like that. But yeah, that's what made me choose my grandma. I interviewed my grandma for that thing. But
yeah, it's
just like dreams are spooky.
Yeah, they really are.
Sometimes I have this like just crazy random dreams. Sometimes it'll just be a quick cut to black, and like, sometimes it'll be super vivid.
So, yeah, sometimes. I just think like the weirdest part about like life and death is that like we not necessarily like we know this for a fact, but like we know, as far as we know, we are like the only type of like mammals and shit that like dwell on a death for so long, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of other animals, like think about like
isn't that a part of being like sentient, something like holding on to or like having living to like sort of a,
it's like a part of intelligence, yeah. But like tigers and shit, or like lions, if like one of the lions gets like a thorn in his foot, all the other lions are like, all right, go fuck yourself. Either like fix it or get out of here. Like,
yeah,
you're done. We're not slowing down for you. And they like, you know, they brush it off their shoulder. They don't feel shit. And, you know, same thing really goes for like most other animals that we know about. Pretty sure dolphins mourn. Almost certain.
I was going to say, like, yeah, I think like dolphins do.
And, like, at the same time, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, what do you think happens when we die? And they're like, it just fades to black. They're like, nothing happens. And I think people who think like that are just as bad as the people who are, you know, 100% convinced that Christianity's the right thing. You know, like heaven or hell, that's where they went.
Yeah.
Or purgatory.
Yeah. And, you know, I was raised Catholic, grew up Catholic. And sometimes it's just like, everything's really uncertain in the way like humanity works, but I'm a firm believer that energy never dies, it transfers, and wherever it may go or whatever part of the world it may be in, like it's still alive, and essentially it'll be alive forever.
That is a good point. I don't know why I took this off. For some reason took my watch off, but elephants. Scientists have long known about elephants' response to death. When a living elephant comes into contact with a dead elephant, it usually falls silent and often spends several minutes investigating the body and with its trunk and its feet. In her 2013 book on animal mourning, King describes several elephants' responses to the death of Eleanor, the elderly matriarch of an elephant family living on Samburu National Reserve in Kenya.
Wow.
Huh.
And
Gorillas, too. Songbirds?
No, maybe birds are smarter than I thought.
Birds are extremely smart. Super intelligent. But yeah, it's just... The whole situation is super fucked up about death. It's like the one side of me where I was never raised Catholic. I was never raised Christian. I personally think the whole thing is a bunch of malarkey, in my opinion. Obviously, other people feel different. I don't have any evidence to back that up, and other people don't really have any evidence besides the Bible and besides, all the other things that go along with that religion as their evidence. But at the same time, like, I don't think we just shut off like computers. I don't think we're just done. I think there's there's got to be something out there.
I kind of think so. I kind of think there's multiple planes of existence, and maybe if we're not in one, we just get to go to another.
I would hope so.
Fingers crossed. I do too.
It's not like I'm not gonna try and find out anytime soon.
Oh yeah, no, you only got a couple good decades on this earth, and then just gotta worry about being old and fat and clogged arteries and stuff.
Old and fat, clogged arteries.
Heart attacks, cancer.
How old do you think we're gonna when my grandma was 21 or whatever, people were dying on average in their 60s.
Yeah,
that was just happening in the fucking 30s. People were dying in their 50s and 60s, and that was typically life expectancy. Now she's 93. She never had a belief that she would make it that far in life. She never had any idea that she would make it to 93 years old. But how old do you think we'll be when we're, at our age cap in 70 or so years? Let's say, how old do you think the life expectancy will be when we're 90?
Oh, God, if I get to be a 90. I don't know. Honestly, I really think we could probably bump up life expectancy within the end of our lifetime. As long as we're not flooded out or heated out by some nasty global warming or something, blown up by some old white guys with atomic bombs. I mean, I think we could actually do some crazy things with medical science. I don't know. People could be expecting to live on 90 on average. I personally don't know if I could, but we'll see. I mean, my grandma just celebrated her 90th birthday, but
Life is obviously in the 80s now.
It's in the 80s right now.
This is the UK.
Oh, there you go.
All they do is smoke cigs over there, Joe. Come on. You got to get real data. Those aren't real people.
Yeah.
Talking about
that would
real
be crazy if people could expect to live to 100 but still be able to function like a 75-year-old, something like that.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it'd be nuts.
There was an article that River told me about. Apparently, not scientists, but I think mathematicians just proved that not all life has to be carbon based, which is fucking nanners. And then we also got out a bunch of other alien topics because he has fucking hella stories about encounters and shit that he dealt with at the Renshaw house that he lived on a farm. That place is fucking weird, man.
God, Alex just recently drove from they left from Seattle and drove up through Canada to Alaska, and he said he saw aliens in Canada.
Dude, he's probably just tripping in Canada.
That's what I'm saying. They stopped Q-Main at the border. They're just you're not essential. You have to stay here. So I think he just flew to Anchorage because I think Maddie was gonna fly with Tess because Tess couldn't go into Alaska or not Alaska. Tess couldn't go through Canada.
Oh, but oh yeah, you can fly over.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which is kind of dumb to me. It's just screw you, Canada.
Well, they just don't want you in there.
Yeah, it's just why?
Well, none of the country wants us right now.
But that's fair.
We have the most COVID cases.
Fair. We do have we do.
And it's still
us in Brazil right now. This is not where I thought we'd be when we were back in goddamn March, June, whatever.
No.
May, June, whatever.
Have you fucking seen those pictures of schools in Alabama and Georgia and shit that have already opened, high schools?
No, I knew kids in Gwinnett County and Atlanta, all of them were going back to school and everything, which is crazy. I didn't know schools in the South started like that, way early. Did they finish super early too?
I think so.
crazy.
I think like the hottest part of the year for them, they're just like, go outside, like get out of here. We don't want to deal with you in school.
Fair.
Or no, I know.
It gets real hot down there. I remember me and John went to Atlanta like summer we graduated 2017.
Yeah, I know that some places they do a weird thing where they like where they have you go through like 2 or 3 months of school, and then you get like 2 flat weeks off, and then you go back, and then you do, you know, that kind of. You still get weekends off, obviously, but
Yeah.
like your summer break is broken up from one long 3 months into like 2-week segments, which is weird. I wouldn't like that. I like that big ass summer break.
I do too. I don't think I'd like it broken up like that. I'd rather just be able to enjoy myself for like the 2.5, 3 months they give us.
But there's a couple kids who got suspended for posting pictures of crowded hallways in like Atlanta. And like,
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some kids got suspended. One kid got expelled for talking out about it because they would take pictures of these crowded ass hallways with like probably 100 kids in it, and not a single kid was wearing a mask. They were all, you know, jam packed in there like sardines. Like, you've been in a fucking, even the high school hallway here in Cloquet would get a little packed. And
I
we
get
had
a
like
little crazy.
what,
Around LSC wasn't bad.
800 people in that whole school total.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was decent. You saw like everybody.
yeah.
Like the high school. That was like my favorite time. You just get to see everybody, call them fuckers for like a couple minutes, and then
Call them
dip out.
fuckers. Yeah, that's weird. That's super weird to me, is the fact that like we're the ones annexed from the rest of the world right now. Like we're
Yeah, more or less. I actually saw that. It's just like a lot of like at least European countries have like put us on like a flight prohibit. Like we can't go anywhere, which is kind of fucked. I think not everywhere is like completely banned us, but
no. One of the weirdest things about it though is the fact that like foreign exchange students and like people who were already here are allowed to go back. And there was an instance where a girl from Wuhan, China, was in, I believe, the UK for studying abroad or something like that, or like going to school. And then she went back to Wuhan and she brought coronavirus with her. Back to China.
back to China.
Return to sender.
Oh god, I saw something fucked the other day. It was like a massive like pool party in like the epicenter in Wuhan, where like the virus started. And everyone's just like no masks. Like it was just like packed, just millions of people just on floaties, just chilling.
Well, they don't have a fucking problem anymore.
I don't know. China recently reported new cases. Also, did you see that there was like a bunch of meat China found from places, I think in like Asia, maybe like Indonesia, like a type area that tested positive for like COVID or whatever. Because yeah, China went crazy hard, and I think that happened in the U.S. too. There was like spots where they found that. It was just like China had been testing like all imported meats for like the last like months, just so they could like further get like a hold on things. And like that's not a bad idea if you're getting fucking meat from like some country in like South America, or because this is where they're from. This isn't just like random like stupid guesses. Like South America, like the Pacific Northwest, or like Asian countries like that. And it's just like you don't want to, you don't be feeding people COVID. That's bad.
No, it's that's weird. It's a weird time. It's such a strange time right now. Like 2020 has by far been the worst fucking year I've ever endured.
You know, like it started off as just like one big joke, but I really believe like humanity manifested like this entire terrible, horrible year. Because like at first it was just like, okay, Australia's burning down on the coasts. Okay, half of Australia's on fire. All right, like 3/4, and they finally put it out. Coral Reef died. Oh, now there's a plague. And it's just like things just Kobe died. Like everything just gets progressively worse. There's just that explosion in Lebanon.
Yeah, dude, that explosion was fucked.
Trash.
There was videos of people like, because what was going on was there was like a fire at like this like refinery,
like a warehouse or something like that, because they had stored like an insane amount of ammonium nitrate in like some warehouses.
Yeah,
like
I thought it was a refinery that was on fire.
Maybe it spread then, because like I'm not totally sure about the whole layout, but I do know that like all this ammonium nitrate was just being stored in a warehouse on like their ports and stuff on their entry, because like it had been seized from like either a British or like a Iranian like ship, like, just, they stopped it, and they're like, hey, you can't do this.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then so they just decided to, like, chuck it all in a warehouse, like, once, like, no one cared about it anymore and no one wanted it. And, like, yeah, they've stored it, like, close to the city, that close to, like, the center of the city, downtown, like, for, like, 25 plus years, 23, 25 plus years.
Yeah.
No one had done anything about it, and like they had reports, like people have been sent, like asking like government level officials, like the president, Congress, are like, hey, what do we do about this? There's a lot of like highly explosive chemicals being stored semi improperly.
Yeah, right.
And yeah,
but I was watching a video of that like take place, and it was literally somebody from their like skyscraper building apartment that was taking a video of like, you know, the fucking like the bellowing fire that's like going on, and they're like, holy shit, like what's gonna happen? Is the whole place gonna go down in flames? Like they're just taking a video of it, and then out of fucking nowhere there's this like giant plume of smoke that comes up, and you
like
can
a mushroom
see
cloud type thing when it like really explodes.
and then you could see the fucking like the shock wave hitting like the other buildings before it hits like the actual building, and like their windows all busted out because they were that close. Windows busted out. There was a ship that was, fuck, what did they say? It was like 1.5 miles or like 2 miles off the coast. And you could see they were taking a video from the ship.
Yeah.
And like you watch the explosion, and then like 1.5 minutes later, they get hit with this wicked shockwave. Like the guy dropped the camera because that's how violent it was.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing videos too. I watched a ton just off of like Facebook and Instagram, and like all these people off of like like Sky Rises, whatever, just like shooting like the initial thing, and then like you can almost see like the wave like coming off like right when the thing goes up. You can almost just like see it, and like the sheer like just amount of damage it had done.
The epicenter of the explosion.
So what's next for Beirut? Is it fucked there, or is it
it's gonna
is it like nuclear waste? Or?
No,
I don't think so. I don't think ammonium nitrate is.
No, it's not radioactive.
I think it's just highly explosive.
It is super
Highly volatile.
Ammonium nitrate is like one of the most explosive like chemicals that you can use. I'm pretty sure that's like the main component of like pipe bombs.
Yeah, at first it was just like they said like a fireworks factory had like caught on fire and like started going up, and then you could see that. Yeah, you kind of see all like little pops of shit. And then all of a sudden, like when like that bigger fire spread, like it just went up. It was insane.
That explosion, the epicenter of what Beirut it is? Beirut.
Yeah,
I think it's Beirut.
Yeah, it is. The epicenter of like where the explosion happened, it looks like a nuke went off. It's
really
completely
does.
cratered.
I haven't seen I haven't read a bunch about it. But
There's a lot of crazy like conspiracies about it. It's just like you see like thermals or whatever. Like I've seen crazy videos where like it does look like a drone strike from one point, because you can't necessarily trust the credibility of every like conspiracy video you see on the internet or like Facebook.
It's fucking
or whatever.
crazy how conspiracies can like come out of like every situation. That's
Literally,
like,
though.
it's just so
No,
nuts.
that's
It's like
just
you see like the heat things, and all of a sudden this thing just rockets down and everything explodes. It's like, oh, that looks bad. But there's also another thing. Like I saw like there was like a skyscraper or whatever that was mostly destroyed but still standing, and then somebody had said, so do you still really believe that if like 27,000 tons of like ammonium nitrate couldn't topple this skyscraper, like steel structure, that 2 planes and jet fuel could melt the steel beams and bring the trade towers down? I was just like, oh,
dude. Okay,
Christ.
so like
that's so fucked. I hate all the 9/11 comparisons. Like, I love and hate the 9/11 conspiracy thing, but it was just like, oh god, okay, I like that.
I mean, it is, but jet fuel can burn hot enough to the point where steel beams can become malleable under heavy pressure.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. But let me explain. just let me explain something. Fucking, it's a human being's uncanny ability to be able to find a pattern in any situation. Think of constellations, right? Think about like the fucking Scorpio constellation. That's supposed to be a scorpion.
Yeah.
Look up at the stars.
Like
Looks nothing like a scorpion.
Hell no.
It's literally like 5 different lines. You could be like, that's straight up a stick bug. Like that could be anything.
Be whatever. Yeah.
Get stick bugged. Like it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Joe doesn't know. Joe doesn't have a smartphone.
Yeah, that's this Joe. He's living his best life.
But that's the thing. It's like the human's ability. It's a human being's ability to find like commonalities in uncommon places, like to be able to connect dots that aren't necessarily connected. They did it with there's conspiracy theorists talking about like the moon landing. They're like, oh, they did it with all CGI, and it's like, did you watch like Spy Kids? Did you watch Spy Kids? Like the one where they went into like the video game one. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about.
I've seen all the Spy Kids.
That CGI is shit. And that was like top of the line in like 2000. And the moon landing happened in the 60s. How the fuck did we CGI that? That doesn't make any sense.
They're saying Kubrick did it.
Kubrick.
Stanley the Man Kubrick. Shout out that guy in all of his movies.
But
no, I've definitely seen that. It's just like they try to like nitpick like all these like little things about like the grainy old like quality of like the things and saying it's like, oh, this little like crinkle here is like the wires where you can see how they're like bouncing up and down. It's just like, Christ. I mean,
dude,
like,
people
I
watch the
like,
rocket leave. Like,
but like after, like there's so many conspiracies about like crazy things. Don't you think one has to be true?
oh, I guarantee there's true conspiracies out there.
Oh, like I think I think JFK was assassinated by the United States of America.
He was. It came out in the documentary.
I think so.
Finding J.
No
There's
offense to the
a
United States government, but
there was a Netflix documentary.
What is the famous one they say about that one?
yeah,
Yeah, it was two gunmen. Yeah, it was gunmen from the fence line.
No, I think
to the-
Bush or something.
Yeah, it was.
potentially
What
JFK
happened?
got shot in the back of the head by a Secret Serviceman who fell and tripped.
No, there was
Nah, you see, no, that's not one of those documentaries though. It's just like they had like this kind of gun. They had the kind of gun like the second round. Like, there were two different distinct rounds.
Yeah.
The first one that went through like JFK's neck and hit the one dude was fired by Lee Harvey Oswald, but the one that
I thought it
hit
went
him-
through his chest. I thought it went through his upper part of his chest.
Yeah, pretty close enough. Something like that. But the one that initially went through JFK and went into like the mayor or governor, whoever the hell he was riding with.
Cheese.
Oh, God,
Fucking
that
Family Guy.
You think that's all right? Who gives a hell? He's a cheeseburger. He's a cheeseburger. No, fucking. Yeah, no, JFK was not killed by Lee Harvey Oswald.
I don't think he was. There was a documentary that came out. I think it was like Finding JFK or Finding JFK's Killer, something like that. And they did like a shitload of research. Like they went back and found like declassified like documents about like what JFK had been doing at that time and like what like people who were plotting against him had been doing. So like the director of the CIA at that time, I think
on
was
his way out, getting fired by Kennedy for
but
something.
I think it was Bush.
Or
I think it was Bush Sr. I think he was the director of the CIA at the time.
I feel like that might have been true. Yeah, I think
Or
I
he
heard,
was
I think I've heard that somewhere.
Second in command.
Something like that. I don't know. I just remember the director of like the CIA was
Yeah.
on his way out because he'd been like discredited and shamed for like the failure of the Bay of Pigs that everyone was trying to shove on everyone. And
Yeah, it really was.
Bay of Pigs was fucked.
But one of the most, like, the craziest things about it was that down in Dallas, they actually had a camp where they were training Cuban, Cuban freedom fighters. They were training Cuban citizens that they had, like, essentially kidnapped from Cuba. And they were training them with Lee Harvey Oswald, who was, at the time, a part of the CIA. They were training them in Dallas, in a very remote part of, or it was either outside of I think it was outside of Texas in
I think
Louisiana.
it was like the people that Castro had kicked out. Because like Castro, like essentially, he had a couple mass exodus from Cuba. There was one where he just like floated off like all of like the country's like criminals and degenerates and like worthless people, and then there was that was like the second. I remember like just a bunch of Cubans that weren't like necessarily citizens you want to welcome in here. No offense, Cubans. I love Cuban food and Cuban people, but. Those Cubans were bad. And then the first wave that he expelled was like when he initially took over. It was all the people from the rebellion that were still like fleeing from Castro when they lost and got pushed off the island. They went to the CIA, and that's like partially who they were training for the Bay of Pigs. It was just like a bunch of Cuban exiles that were down to like actually fuck up Fidel Castro if they got the chance.
But there was a guy at the parade where Kennedy was shot. and he distinctly remembers like hearing a gun. He heard the initial gunshot, and then he heard a second one. When the second gunshot was fired, technically from Lee Harvey Oswald, is what everyone claims.
Yes.
He remembers specifically that the direction of the bullet was from behind him. The sound of the gunshot was directly behind him, and it went by his head to JFK. And the round that they used was from the round that the Secret Service men were using. Or from the rifles that the Secret Service men were using.
That's what I'm saying, because like they, in like one of the documentary, like first of all, like the ballistics like done by multiple people have pointed to the use or like to the idea that there was more than one shooter. There was more than one different kind of round fired, like everything. But even watching the video, it's just like the first one, just like a little spray, and then the second one literally implodes his head.
Yeah.
Like, if it were the same round, like, there would have been, like, a giant, like, crater in, like, his shoulder and back.
Yeah, it would have been.
But it was
Wait,
not.
he got shot twice?
Yeah, he got
Yeah,
shot.
JFK got shot twice.
He got shot in the chest initially, and then he got shot in the head.
By the same guy.
And, like,
Yeah.
sure,
And that
you
was
could
when he was
say-
driving
sure,
away, too.
Yeah, like, sure, you can argue that, like, different parts of the body and, like, blah, 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 trajectory, whatever, certain situations might have been better, but, like, yeah,
I don't think we're allowed to. Especially, we'll get copyrighted for YouTube. I mean, you don't have to show
yeah,
it.
you can watch it.
We can watch it, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. It's just like the second one literally takes like a chunk out of his brain, like
Well-
a chunk out of his skull.
But there was even like a world class like marksman that came from like a U.S. Navy SEAL like training facility, and they went up into the
something
warehouse.
similar to like what Oswald was involved in, like the kind of sniper he was.
Yeah.
Wasn't he a sniper or something?
Yeah, he was a marksman.
Yeah.
He was a marksman in the
Marksman.
CIA. Fucking where he was, a guy was like, "Oh yeah, I could have made that shot easy," and and they were like, "Really? With like that amount of wind, however much wind was on that day."
yeah.
They're like, "With that amount of wind, with
Circumstances.
all that stuff, with the car moving," he's like, "Oh yeah, easily could have made that shot. Absolutely could have made that shot." And he was talking about it. He's like, the fact that he got hit in the chest.
I think it's towards the end, Joe. of the
Yeah.
video.
Oh,
That's
the
where it
neck.
is.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me see. They got shot in the shoulder and he's driving when he got shot in the... Where's that? Is there an actual video?
No, there's no actual. Oh yeah, well
Yeah,
yeah, there's
you
real
can find
video
it
of him getting
somewhere.
shot. But they were talking about the shot, and he's like, yeah, the guy was driving directly away from him at a perfect 180-degree angle. Like they were parallel together. He's like, that I could have made the headshot right away. The fact that he got shot in the neck was the weirdest part to him. He's like, I've never heard of a marksman going for a neck shot. Ever. They either hit mid-body, or if they can, they go for the head. Like you should. That's your training in marksman school.
Yep.
But it's just, it really is like the weirdest. It's also, I don't have it plugged in directly in my router, so the Wi-Fi is probably fucked. Because the Wi-Fi here sucks cock. It really does.
But yeah, no, it's just. Yeah, it's a debatable, and it's debatable how credible everyone's theory is to who was the second shooter, but I do believe there was a second shooter, and that this was some sort of plot. There's like multiple angles like that they could have worked. Like, there's a lot of people that wanted JFK dead too.
Oh yeah, the moonshiners wanted him dead. The bootlegging
bootleggers.
moonshiners, which was the
Dirty Mafia boys.
the Kennedys themselves were moonshiners. Did you know that?
Were they actually?
Yeah, they were bootleggers. That's how they made all their money. The mafia wanted him dead. God, that's so fucked.
Yeah, poor
Was
JFK.
Was he shot? Was like right here? Was he shot in the shoulder when she first grabs him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
once Jackie first grabs him, she's just like, oh god, what's happening? And then a couple of seconds, yeah, see, like right there, because the other guy gets hit.
This is in between seconds, probably.
Yeah, she's like looking right at him when it happens. Poor Jackie.
Yeah, his whole
God,
head just
it's
like
terrible.
explodes.
Which is, yeah, I don't know. It's
Do you
just like
think there could
it's
have been a
hard
second
to
shooter
say.
that just never got exposed, but he was in on it with Lee Harvey Oswald?
Well, that was one of the craziest things about the documentary is that when it was released, there were indications of Lee Harvey Oswald going to like anti-JFK like secret meetings and stuff that like was being
What's his background?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
He was like an ex CIA inductee for some reason. Like I think he was ex-military and
he served somewhere as like a marksman sniper type deal.
Yeah, and he
what
was
the reason they proved in court for his murder? Why did he murder him?
He was killed. He was killed before.
Yeah, Jack Ruby shot him before they could really try him and convict him, but they wanna in Dallas, in Texas, they
got away.
No, Lee Harvey Oswald did not get away.
So just tracked him down right then and shot him.
Yeah, Jack Ruby, some nightclub owner. Jack Ruby, some nightclub owner in the Dallas area. When they were carting him.
No,
away,
he was a movie theater.
I'm pretty sure it's a nightclub.
I thought he went to Ford. I thought he ran to Ford Theater. I thought he. Or no, he ran from a Ford warehouse to a Lincoln Theater or something. He was in a warehouse.
Well, I think that's where they caught him maybe.
Yeah, they caught him in a theater. I know that.
Okay.
Because you ever seen the distinction between Lincoln and Lincoln in the Kennedy killings? Because Lincoln was killed in Ford Theater, and the guy that was there ran from Ford Theater to a warehouse, and then he was shot in the warehouse. John Wilkes Booth.
Oh yeah,
John
Wilkes
Wilkes
Booth. Okay.
Who?
John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah. Shot in the gut. He bled out there. He ran from a warehouse from Ford Theater to a warehouse and then was shot there. Lee Harvey Oswald ran from a warehouse to a Ford something. I know that.
That might be where he was captured or whatever, but I'm pretty sure they were trying to transfer him from a jail when Jack Ruby just shot him in the gut.
Ran up and shot him. Or was
so it wasn't he was shot right on the spot.
No, they had him in custody for a little bit.
But fuck, how someone just shot him.
I know they were transferring him from the vehicle, from the jail vehicle.
Yeah. Into the jail.
Into the
yeah.
Shot him right in the gut too.
I think they wanted.
So they never could try him or ask us.
And I think they wanted to pin it on Lee Harvey Oswald because he had defected to Russia or something like that.
Defected to Cuba.
Or to Cuba, one of those two. He was in a communist country or whatever, and they're saying when he came back, he was just so anti-United States.
Well, he was. He was anti-United States, though. That was something that came out that was proven. In the documentary, they had found pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald burning the U.S. flag in his backyard. Burning the U.S. flag in his backyard, going to secret meetings with these Cuban defectees. Yeah, so it just... The whole situation of, this being a conspiracy theory, it probably was. The Mafia probably wanted him dead. Because of what he was going to do to the Mafia. He was going to break them all down. He was going to make it so they had no more power in, any of the major cities.
What's a good movie to watch on it? Or, documentary?
Look up a JFK documentary.
Speaking of, New York Mafia and stuff like that, if you want another good doc to watch, I think it's only, 3 or 4 episodes, is, Fear City.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's super good. I watched it.
Oliver Stone made a JFK documentary?
No, it was newer than that. It's definitely newer than that.
I want to say a couple on Netflix aren't too bad. But I don't know if it's making.
It might be making JFK the making of a president.
Yeah.
If I see the fucking title screen, I'll know what it is. I think that was it. No, that wasn't it. Look up JFK assassination documentary.
Yeah, that's probably the best bet.
Because I remember I was following this profusely, shortly after high school. I think it was freshman year of high school. I saw this. I saw advertisements for the documentary, and I was like, oh shit! And it's a multi-part documentary. And they came out with the 10th episode, and they're like, "You're never gonna believe what we found," because they got declassified information from the U.S. government about CIA members plotting against Kennedy and saying we need to take him out.
Jeez.
What is it?
I don't know.
God damn it, T-Rus.
I might be able to pull it up some other time. I'll drop it in the comments. I'll find it before I upload this tonight. Oh, it might be Oliver. You might be right about that.
What wasn't there a big docu-series about JFK and stuff with what's his face? And it was a super long series. I don't know. It was with what's his name? James Franco was in it.
Oh yeah, I watched that. That was called 11/27/68.
What was that?
68. Wait, when was JFK assassinated? Because it's that's the title of it.
Oh, that's a good question.
JFK assassination date.
66?
60s.
Wasn't it?
I don't know. Fucking
It's
terrible.
like November '62.
Oh, 60.
Yeah, so it's
okay,
11/22/63 is the name.
Nice job.
So look that up.
I didn't even know it was in November.
I think there's dashes in between it. But yeah. Right there. It's with James Franco. So essentially, in that show, it's pretty good. I watched the whole thing.
T. Lee was watching.
What that show is about, 11/22/63. James Franco plays a guy in like modern day, like small town of.
Based on Stephen King.
Yeah, so he plays like he's just like this teacher in this small town area, and in
book published by Stephen King.
Jesus Christ, chill out, Stephen King.
Oh god.
He's just this like teacher in this small town in like modern day society in like 2015 or 2016 or something like that, and he's eating at this diner all the time because they have $1 burgers. And the owner of the diner becomes really good friends with James Franco, and he tells him, "Hey, there's a portal in the back of the diner that if you go into, you go back in time to the 60s, and you go back in time to like 1962, I think." And his whole life, like the diner owner's life, was like completely fucked up. Like when he was a child, his dad like killed his mom in front of him, and then like went to jail. He was sent to like a foster home. A bunch of different shit happened, but he basically was like, you need to go back in time and like stop that from happening, and then stop JFK from getting assassinated. And like, so he spends this entire like 10-part series. Like,
Those are pretty long.
it is long, but it's good. I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. But he goes back to like 60 or like 62 or something, and he just has to like function back there until he can stop the JFK assassination. But it just goes based off of like what mainstream, media thinks happened. There's no like conspiracy theory to it. They don't change anything up.
Yeah.
He just goes up there and he basically fights Lee Harvey Oswald and stops him from killing JFK.
It's on Hulu for anybody if you want to say that.
Yeah, it's on Hulu if anyone
Interesting.
wants to watch it.
Honestly, might have
It's a
to check
Hulu
that out.
original.
Who really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was really fucking good.
I can't remember. There's also like this kind of interesting like historical piece. It was like Man in a High Castle. I can't remember.
I watched that as well.
Is that on Hulu or was that Amazon Prime?
Amazon.
Ah, damn it. That's right. I don't have Max's anymore. But no, I heard that
show
was
was
super
weird.
good, and like I think it was a book before it was a series, and apparently it's supposed to be pretty good.
It kind of went off the. I haven't watched season 3 or 4. Or no, I've watched season 3. I haven't watched season 4. But like season 1 and 2 are basically like these militant groups fighting against the fact that like the Nazis in Japan, the Nazis and like Japan. Yeah, The Man in the High Castle is on Amazon. But the Nazis in Japan won World War II.
Yeah.
And they basically took over the entire world. The Nazis got like most of Europe and a good portion of the United States, like the East Coast all the way through the Midwest. And then Japan got the West Coast and like all of Asia. All of us fucking gun owners.
Imagine the Midwest defending itself.
Yeah, I could.
The Midwest go hard.
But yeah, that whole series is basically about like these groups who are like against the Nazis and like against that. But then like there's this really weird part about like the tapes, how like the tapes, there's like a bunch of different tapes that are trying to be destroyed by like the Nazi government and the Japanese government, and they're about like different types of realms that exist, like different universes where like the Nazis didn't win. And there's like videos of like Nazi soldiers being executed by like US soldiers, like firing squad executing like a bunch of different Nazi soldiers, and like people watch these videos and they see themselves get executed in these videos. And they're like, is this going to happen? Has this happened? Is it this from a different universe or whatever? And the Man in the High Castle is essentially the guy that's been hoarding all these videos because he's like kind of a shut-in weirdo. And then, like, he dies for some reason. Like, I think they just kind of write him out. It's super weird. It's kind of piss poor writing towards, like, season 3. But, like, season 1 and 2 are really fucking good.
Hell yeah.
The fucking show starts out so good. It's just like
Gets ruined.
Talking to the mic, Joe. Come on. You got a mic
creative,
for a
like,
reason, buddy.
Differences and stuff. Make sure it's unmuted too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just that's kind of how like Game of Thrones like ended. Like, yeah, it was kind of cool, but like George R. R. Martin didn't even release the final book yet, and it's just like that. Everyone was disappointed with how that ended, but I also don't. I thought like 3 or 4 seasons would kind of was pushing it when I heard about it, because I don't even know how many fucking books there were. It might have been just like a singular book, but like, yeah, as long as it started out good, I might have to check that out somehow.
Yeah. Man of the High Castle. That's a really good show. I watched that for... I think I watched it for, like, English class or something. Like Mr. Kraft. Yeah, right? You remember that? Yeah. I wanted to get back on conspiracy theories with you.
Oh yeah.
So, River actually pointed this out to me, that the new Mars rover that they dropped on Mars recently has been taking 360-degree pictures. So the old Mars rover basically had like a fucking, Kodiak like disposable camera on the top of it, and it'd take pictures. That was the quality, at least.
Yeah.
Now they have like a fully like functional, one of those like VR porn like 360-degree cameras that they use. And in every single photo, people on like Reddit and 4chan have actually been like examining these photos pretty heavily. And in every single photo directly behind the rover, you can see this tiny little person-shaped object.
Oh.
Like this little brown, like, it looks like a rock in most pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a rock, but there's like this one picture where it's like kind of standing on something.
Should we look it up?
Yeah. Look that shit up, Joe. It's honestly like the craziest fucking thing. Like, new Mars rover
Oh god,
pictures.
that's insane.
Aliens.
I'd love
Aliens,
if they
yeah.
were like little tiny like little rock people on Mars. Would be
That would be
insane.
whack.
But like, it's also with the moon too. It's just like I've heard things about like, with all this like advanced technology, why isn't NASA wanting to go back to the moon? It's just like, what would they find up there that like kept them from going back? And I remember like, do you remember like this weird movie? It might have been called like Apollo, like
Yeah, it was
something,
Apollo
whatever.
11.
Apollo 11,
Or
whatever.
Apollo
the hell it was.
13.
13, that's what it was. Thanks, Joe. It was a super shitty movie, but yeah, it was like based off of like conspiracy theories about like
No.
there being like aliens on the moon that'll fuck with us, and I remember like at the end it was just like they brought back so and so amount of moon rocks and we don't know where they are. But like I've also heard conspiracy theories where it's just like the moon is like a giant like space station that like aliens created so they could observe us. And that's why NASA won't go back. And that also feeds into like that like belief where it's just like a lot of people like think that there are a bunch of like aliens around the government. We've already been in contact with extraterrestrial life, and not only are we working with them, they're like the highest parts of our government. Like stuff like that.
I love the
That'd
like
be
the
whack.
Bob Lazar. Fuck, have you like listened?
Oh,
to
yeah.
that shit?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it so much, but like at the end of the day, I'm like,
But dude,
like, it's
this
not
is like a...
fucking real.
It can't be.
Like when you look at like all the like the reports and shit, there's just like some huge holes in like the
Yeah.
But like, think...
conspiracy. It's just like,
But like Bob
I
Lazar...
love it so much. Like I get so much entertainment from it, but it's like
Okay, so Bob Lazar actually worked at not at Area 51, but a subsection of Area 51 called Area S4, where he was a part of reverse engineering actual alien spacecraft that had he's a whistleblower in the eyes of the U.S. government. He's a whistleblower. But nobody believed him, so they didn't give a fuck. But he basically, like, Bob Lazar is a trustworthy person. Like, the motherfucker is a physicist, first of all. He built a rocket engine car that he drove to work.
Good God.
Yeah.
I remember it was like certain things after like Roswell, New Mexico or whatever. It's just like people theorize that like after supposed UFOs had crashed down or whatever, that's sort of when our like technological boom happened, when we were able to reverse engineer all these like different things and spaceships essentially. That's like after like modern like fighter or like more modernish fighter jets started to like come up. That kind of took that like crazy thing, because like if you look at it, there's like a pretty impressive like technology boom. Yeah, a jump from like a certain point, and like a lot of people.
What year is Roswell?
That's 50, 60s?
54?
I was going to say, Roswell has to be like 50s or 60s, something like that. Roswell, New Mexico.
47.
Wow,
we were off.
The interesting thing is, like, there were things, like, recovered there. But, like, you don't know if it was just, like, a random fucking kite or it was actually, like, shit they were like, wow, I've never... And Lazar was one who claimed that it was, like, shit he'd never seen before. And it was
Lazar was a part of the team that was designated by the U.S. government to reverse engineer what they had found. And, like, that was, like, the turning point for, like, that's how, like, we came out with fucking radar and shit. Like, that's a lot of that, of what happened in Roswell, we can attribute to, like, a lot of the technological advancements that we have today. And that's what he claims. And there's also, like, the CIA, or not the CIA, but NASA, or, like, the U.S. government, the Pentagon, actually, recently came out and said that, like, a lot of the videos of, like, fighter pilots seeing a UFO flying, those are real, actual, unidentified flying objects that we don't know what the fuck they are.
Oh, right. That's why I'm like, that's the whole thing. Thank you for making me remember that. That's an entire thing, like, I forgot I had called out for, like, the end of 2020. Because I remember that. Like, the Pentagon just, like, had recently declassified, like, a ton of files.
Want another one?
I'd love another one. Thank you. Another one for Pierce. They just declassified, like, a ton of...
Gave you a bush.
Ooh. Thank you, sir. They had declassified, like, a ton of different, like, semi-recent... Some not so recent, just like a ton of files about like different fighter jets, like observing like flying objects that like we just couldn't identify, and like they kind of came out and said like, yeah, these are just like sentient like flying aircrafts that we just have no idea what the hell they are, and like they're out there, they exist. That's why I was saying like I'm pretty sure. God, I'd never mind. We couldn't win a fucking war with aliens, but like. I almost thought for a second after like those came out that by the end of 2020 we're gonna see aliens like touch down and like spook our shit. Like, something weird.
The thing with aliens for me though, or like any extraterrestrial being, I cannot think that they'd be like anything like us. I feel like it'd be a totally different like microorganism of like crazy compounds and shit. I just feel like it'd be like totally out of our realm of like
understanding,
like comprehension.
It'd be like so fucked.
It would be. It really like would be super fucked if they were.
Especially from like a different universe.
Could you imagine
like some sort of higher form of like existence or consciousness that would like? It just reminds me of the little Rick and Morty thing. Like remember those clouds that were gonna come in and like, destroy all the life.
Well, because they're not carbon based.
Yeah,
life forms. Like they were like hydrogen based life forms or something like that, and they were essentially like gods amongst like us. And that could very well be the case. But like at the same time, for them to advance, they would need like some sort of like opposable thumb. But at the same time, we don't fucking know.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
We really don't. Literally anything and anything could be out there, and it could be a bunch of things that are a lot stupider than us, that like resemble like animals that like we live and have conquered and like fucked around with, or it could be like species exactly like us that are way smarter and like that'd be insane. They're just like way smarter and could just completely annihilate us.
That is
aliens are spooky.
Well, even that video of like there's a video that a fighter pilot took, and he was like 25 or 30 clicks out, which I think roughly translates to like a couple miles.
Okay.
But it was like trying to follow it on its like thermal sensor, because it was trying to lock on initially. It was trying to lock onto this like little grain of rice that was flying in the sky, and he could see it. So it tried to lock on, and something was causing it to not be able to like actually lock onto it. Because fighter pilots now, like fighter pilot planes and shit like that, they can lock onto like clouds, they can lock onto stars, they can lock onto fucking houses on the ground. Like they can really lock onto anything.
But yeah, something traveling at like that velocity is just,
exactly.
like, impossible to lock in on.
Well, no, it was sitting still.
It was sitting, what?
It was just sitting
It's like
there.
hovering?
Yeah, it was like a blimp in the sky. It was just sitting. And
That's not good.
they couldn't, for some reason, it couldn't lock onto it. There's a video out there somewhere. I remember seeing it on a Joe Rogan podcast. I think it was the one where he talked with Bob Lazar. But you can see it on the video that it's just chilling there. And then, like, out of nowhere, it just starts flying off the screen. And they, like, try to follow it, and they can't because it's too fast. And they're like, anything that can move from literally 0 knots to, you know, almost just unimaginable speeds that we can't even fathom. The fastest we've gone, I think, is like Mach 10 or like Mach 9, which is 9 times the speed of sound.
Yeah. No, I've seen plenty. I've watched a lot. Like almost any kind of alien conspiracy things I get my hands on. I'll watch all of them. But yeah, I just remember it was like somewhere in Europe they were just like trying to test out like their nuclear like warhead capabilities. I don't know where it was, but like it was just like they're at the site of a rocket launch, and then like this rocket's going up, and then all of a sudden like some random object flies in, and then like you can almost see it was almost like waves, not necessarily like some crazy like defined object that launched at it, but like
You're
all
talking
of a
about,
sudden, like the rocket like blew up or it started like malfunctioning and kind of like caught on fire, and then like the object that was sitting like in the corner just like that was like hovering essentially just like shot off. And like I don't know, it wasn't like defined enough to be able to like really make anything about it, but like that's how like that was a spook factor. It didn't look like somebody had tried to make it look like there was just some like dinky little spaceship. It was just like some random like little weird object way off in the corner. And like as soon as this rocket like kind of took off and then started to like get fucked with, like it just like zipped out of there. It was insane.
I mean, River told
Aliens might be real.
River told me a story that really, really fucked with me. So I think he said he was like 10 or 11.
The Renshaw house?
Yeah, this was at the Renshaw house. He was like 10 years old. And like this was about like 2 years before I knew him. He was like playing video games or something like in his bedroom in the basement. And he went upstairs to get like something out of the refrigerator. And he was like standing there like making it, and he turns around to the sink to like throw his knife or whatever the fuck he was in the sink, and he looks out into the field, and in the back he had a barn, and then he had a field, and this field was probably, I'd say, like 1.5 miles long. And then back at the end of the field there was this like little circle of trees. There was like this big circle of trees and like a swamp there that like none of the farmers wanted to fuck with, so they just left it like in the middle of like a bunch of different fields. And it was like this just circle of trees. And River said that he saw this like big, giant, bright, glowing object like above it, just right above it. And he said it was really bright. It lit up the whole field. And I was like, could it have been like a plane, a helicopter, like with a big light on it? And he's like, no, this was bigger than like any light that could have been on any sort of like vehicle or anything. He said it looked like a small like sun was sitting above there.
Oh, God.
And he called his grandpa, who was like at the bar or something, like at Third Base Bar. He called his grandpa and he's like, hey grandpa, there's like this big white light sitting above the tree line back there. Like it's sitting way back there. It's just not moving. It's just pointing this direction. And his grandpa raced home, like sped home, got home. River said within like 2 minutes from Third Base Bar all the way to the Renshaw house. He was going like probably 70 the whole way.
Jeez,
just ripped home, squealed into the driveway, left his truck like running, ran up to the door, and he like looked at it while he was standing in the driveway, sat there for like half a second, and then he comes sprinting up the steps, grabs River, drags him into the basement, shuts everything off, and just they sat there for like 2 hours.
Oh, God.
And
that's kind of spooky.
Yeah. And I was like, did you ever ask him about it? Like, what was the deal with that? And River was like, no, I never talked to him about it. And then his grandpa said something really fucked up, too.
Oh, no.
His grandpa was like, they were talking about space one time. And River was like, yeah, like, I don't know much about space. And he's like, and his grandpa's like, yeah, there are vast universes out there. Like, there's these giant, he's like, there's so many billions of universes out there, and they're all, you know, He's like, there's gigantic universes that are hundreds to thousands to million times the size of our universe. Just alone, like just giant, or not universes, but galaxies. There's giant galaxies. And then there was something else that he said that really fucked with me. When River told me it, he was like, yeah, he's like, something that I learned very recently was that there's galaxies that are smaller than bacteria. And River was like, what? Like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, I learned that really recently. And, like, that tells me, because, like, that wasn't confirmed until, like, 2 years ago. Because that's a real thing that's been confirmed. They've confirmed that galaxies can be smaller than, like, the eye.
Really?
Like, than what an eye can see.
That's insane.
And they believe that there's galaxies from all the way the size of atoms to billions times the size of our galaxy. And the fact that his grandpa knew that, was so certain of it that he would tell his 11-year-old grandson that there's galaxies smaller than bacteria that you can't even see that exist, tells me that he knows something. He knows something about something.
Oh god! Speaking of fucking like aliens and shit, like I remember one time, like I remember what like goddamn like party or like where the hell we were, or maybe we were just hanging like with the Reardons or whatever. But I remember like Ben showed me like a video like of somebody he knew like from around here just like taking videos of like some random like hovering thing in like the sky. Just like on his snap, and it actually did look really fucked. And, like it was obviously just like someone recording something with their phone, but it was like someone from the area, and it like looked like it looked like goddamn aliens. I was like, what? But yeah, I might have to ask Ben about that now if I see him tonight. But
dude, it's
because like yeah,
the wackest thing.
If aliens exist, like God, that's insane.
There's no fucking way they don't.
Tell me about it. They have to, right? They have to. They have to exist. Aliens have to exist.
Think about how fucking big the universe is, man. Like, you can't even fathom. Shut up. Your mic's not on. No one heard that.
Aliens don't exist because they don't believe in the Bible.
They didn't put him in the Bible.
Oh, they didn't put him in the Bible.
Yeah. Okay. But that's like the most...
Okay, all right, sorry.
We gotta be out of here in half an hour. By the way, I got a 6:13.
Okay.
We got a softball game to go to.
Some Miller Lights before at my house.
No, we're gonna drink some hams here.
You guys have softball.
We do have softball.
Interesting.
It's gonna be interesting.
Is there like an actual league?
Yeah, it's bar league softball.
Interesting.
But on like the fucking alien. Oh yeah, I was gonna.
I've delved into
conspiracies are whack. Like I personally do think like with the insurmountable amount of evidence that there is that 9/11 is a conspiracy. I think I really personally do think that 9/11 could have been a conspiracy.
I do too. It's like,
I think the moon landing was real though.
Sometimes I love that 9/11 thing. It's either they knew about it and let it happen, or they orchestrated it and played it off like they didn't.
But think about now.
Definitely two definitive things, but 9/11.
Think about like the conspiracy theory now of like Hillary Clinton going on trial in September. Literally less than 2 weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
She's, she has to go on trial in exactly a month. I think it's September 18th.
Oh yeah, like the most like undercovered thing the media's like ever like try to sweep on, other than like human trafficking, like child predatorings, whatever. But like the second biggest thing they try to sweep on other rug, like no one actually knows. Like yes, she's finally being taken into court, like whatever,
about the emails,
about her fucking emails. And I just saw something that actually pissed me off. They said Hillary Clinton doesn't have to like give a testimony or testify about any of them.
When was this?
Just a couple days ago, I saw this.
No shit.
No, like, yeah, it was like a big issue too. They ruled that she does not have to testify herself. They'll bring her to court, whatever the hell, but she doesn't have to testify. But she doesn't have to answer questions about any of them because it's not like relevant or like pertinent to like the issue or like what she's being charged with or whatever the hell they try to put it off as. But I'd be so mad. Like she needs to be grilled about what the hell. Like
yeah, that's true. Yeah, she really does. And I mean, she's relatively senile at this point too, where like she could spill some shit.
Well,
she could seriously
she might
spill
just,
some shit.
slip up, but like, yeah, she just like knew. She just should be able to say like, yes, I knew about them and didn't respond to them in time, didn't believe they reported enough. Blah blah blah. But you still got people killed. You dumb Clinton.
But one of the craziest things that I read, it was from the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
They posted the fact that Hillary actually has to go to trial because they were trying to suspend trial. They were trying to push it back.
Yeah.
But they were. All right, fuck them. We all know fucking furniture stores are money laundering fronts. Absolutely, like all furniture stores, whether it be goddamn, mattress stores or just furniture stores in general. But anyway,
I've heard about the Denver airport.
there was 600,000 accounts of child trafficking mentioned in emails that she had received. 600,000 emails had child trafficking in there somewhere. 600,000
That's disgusting.
of the millions that she deleted. Like initially, when we first heard about it, right?
Yeah, she
Trump was pissed. Like Trump was getting all uppity about like her deleting classified emails and like emails that she shouldn't have read or shared anywhere, and that like she should be brought to justice for trying to conceal secrets and.
Well, it's like a big leak because like a lot of her advisors like assistants, whatever, like they had access to all this shit too, and like not only did they get hacked, they like shared it to the places that they shouldn't have. Yeah.
But like the fact that 600,000 emails had like child trafficking mentioned in them,
Yeah.
that's really fucked up.
That's like the whole Pizzagate thing, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially.
It's like this little big.
Dude,
You also hear anything about like speaking of like little child trafficking, whatever. You hear about the Pizzagate, like or not the pizza. Goddamn, that's what we're talking about. The Wayfair conspiracy.
Yeah, the cabinets.
Yeah, the dirty cabinets.
yeah, I saw a video. I don't know why, but River is like the prime suspect for fucking conspiracy theories.
Of course he would be. I know
Absolutely.
River loves that shit.
He showed me a video that somebody had posted where they were looking. They were dual screening side by side missing persons and like missing persons accounts and like the Wayfair cabinet thing.
Yeah, and they had the exact same names.
They had the same names.
And they try to play it off as like, yeah, sometimes our employees
break it down for
these cabinets
break it down
like
from like the
named.
beginning.
It's just like there are a bunch of like missing kids and like somehow like someone on Twitter, I think is where it really first broke, is where like these cabinets were like being sold for like ridiculous amounts of money,
like 14,000 or something like that.
Yeah, a couple, like lot of money, like a ridiculous amount of money for like other cabinets that like looked similar, like same use as just like these things. Crazy amounts of money like advertised and like frequently sold on the Wayfair website. And then they also like they had names, like for whatever reason they had different like names of like just random whoever.
Yeah,
and,
it was like Russell Cabinet or like Russell. No, not exactly, but like if I was a missing persons, it would be like Trenton Russell, age 21, from Cloquet, Minnesota, is missing, and it would say that, and then they would go right.
There'd be like a Trenton cabinet on sale.
There'd be like a Russell cabinet or something like that.
Yeah. It's just like they fucking like. I love the internet, man. The internet, like Reddit, 4chan, like Twitter, especially all them boys. Shout out to you guys because like they were the best goddamn detectives in the face of the earth. They literally found like missing posters and like of kids like from all across the country, and their names were like spelled identically, like last or first, whatever it was, to match.
They're
these
spelled
cabinets.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly the same. Like matched and like just selling for like a ridiculous amount of money. So like everybody figured that like this was a front for selling like children
who had been taken,
who had been like abducted or whatever. In like and like I don't really know if they were like shoved in the cabinet and you get this cabinet as a kid in it, or like they just send you a kid or whatever and say fuck the cabinets. But yeah, no, that was the whole conspiracy that blew up on Twitter, was that like the Wayfair people are selling like children.
Well, Wayfair's kind of like an Amazon website.
Or whatever, like some whatever.
You can just sell things on it.
And, like, they gave, like, terrible, like, really stupid, like, explanations for why, like, the cabinets had these names for whatever. And, like, to me, the most...
Who came out about that? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Look up the
person,
Wayfair.
but,
Look up Wayfair child trafficking
conspiracies.
conspiracy.
But yeah, no, it's just like as soon as this like all blowing up, it's just like as soon
Gone.
as like yes, completely deleted. Like they took all of these cabinets off, they're down. Like now it's back down to normal prices if you want to buy something similar. But yeah, they just like completely like took anything like related to this off and down. And that's like the biggest red flag. It's just like if you're not afraid about like people knowing about it and if it's not true, why are you suddenly just like trying to cover your tracks and hide everything, bury everything? That's a red flag to me.
The thing that fucked with me the most was the fact that the names matched up and that the cabinet picture, like the first initial picture of the cabinet, was the same exact cabinet every time.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't the same company because they were like, you know, last name of missing person cabinets, and then they would change every time, but they were all like $15,000 reduced down to like $13.27 or whatever, like super fucked up, insanely expensive prices, especially for like just a metal 2-door cabinet.
yeah, just something like ridiculously stupid.
The fact that the fact that in one user's screen capture I gotta put my glasses on. Hold on. In one user's screen capture, a Samaya 5 self-storage cabinet was listed for $12,899.99 after many expressed alarm about a report of a 17-year-old Samaya Moomin missing from Ohio in 2019. What the fuck, Joe? I was reading. Go back. Motherfucker. 17-year-old Samaya Moomin missing from Ohio in 2019. A woman identifying herself as Moomin took Facebook Live on July 10th, 2020 to confirm she was not missing.
So that's
Debunked.
That specific one was debunked.
maybe it's another cover-up.
Maybe they released her and they're like, if you do this, we'll give you all the money we make from selling kids.
Yeah, not Christ though. I don't know, like, but yeah, it's just like a big
How many
thing.
times have they seen this though, with the names matching and the people missing? Or is it just that one time?
No,
It's
it's
that one time thing.
no, it's not a one-time thing. There was literally
it's
a
like
video
multiple-
of like
Yeah, it
was like
it showed
20.
like at least five, six like kids like that all lined up with these cabinet names, and like, I'm sure that's not even like all they could have matched up with. This is just what Twitter and like Reddit was able to come up with like within the time they had before everything was pulled down.
Yeah, I don't think Wayfair personally is involved with it.
But yeah, the whole thing could just be a front for like an elaborate ring for just selling missing children,
That would be fucked up.
which would be insanely fucked up.
They're so
And like
Where
I'm
would you find
surprised.
the video of, like, the
I don't know where. I think
yeah,
River
like-
pulled it up off of Insta. No, he
I was
pulled
about
it
to
up
say
off
like
of.
Twitter. Twitter is a good place to look if you type on like the way like hashtag Wayfair or anything. Like you might be able to find something with it, but
Grease.
Grease.
So fucked.
But
No, don't go to sun.com.
yeah, like I'm so surprised like with all this hashtag Save Our Children stuff that's being bombarded now. Like more people don't want to talk about this, but they're so ready to like cancel like Rick and Morty for what Dan Harmon did. And
Dan Harmon.
I guess I'll be the first one to say that I don't approve necessarily of like
Wait,
the
hold on. Is
content
this in
Dan
season
Harmon.
4?
No, this wasn't even in Rick and Morty. This is something Dan Harmon did like by himself.
Oh,
Yeah, which is just like fuck you guys. Like Adult Swim has ordered 6 more seasons of Rick and Morty. It won't be canceled until we get 6 more seasons. So suck a penis, but. No, like the biggest thing about it is like if we really feel like Dan Harmon is this like terrible, horrible predator, which he hasn't been proven to be, like as far as I know. Like this is like the one blemish that I've heard of Dan Harmon in like his long career.
oh, you're gonna. That's the thing. You hear about that about like every single new famous person though.
But like yeah, and like what?
You gotta turn the volume off.
Yeah, it's just like what he did is like it was like a pilot for something stupid, like some sort of show that exists now, but like essentially he's just like traveling. He travels back in time and like rapes babies or something, but they're babies of like terrible people, and it's just like even so. If you want to, no, it's just like there's no platform for that really. It's just
It was
like
a parody
Yeah.
in 2009 too.
I think
That's what it said. That's what
was
it
it
said
way
up
back
there.
from
Where
that?
does comedy
Okay.
go too far nowadays? It's
But yeah, that's what I'm saying too. It's just like everybody thinks like you can't say anything either, and it's just like if it was from 2009 and Dan Harmon hasn't had like a record of doing like
Actual
shit like that,
fucking babies,
yeah.
like
Well, not even that. If he's not like if he's not producing like the same sort of content, then why can't we just like understand like this was a past mistake and
What's
not
up
have
with
to try to
the
cancel Rick and
Ellen
Morty?
DeGeneres stuff?
I haven't heard
Ellen,
anything about
yeah,
that.
Ellen has a toxic work environment too.
Oh, that's it.
Toxic. What
If
was
they
that
really
about?
need to fucking solve Rick and Morty, just like cut Dan Harmon, let the show go on. But like Dan Harmon's
He's a
not.
writer
I
on the
don't.
show.
Yeah, I don't think Dan Harmon's like the worst guy ever. Like, yeah, that was gross and bad, and you should probably have done that. But again, like, if it was 2009, like, that was 2009. We're in 2020. Let's acknowledge it was bad. Let's get an apology. I don't think so.
Dude, fucking The Office was still making like
Yeah, that's what I'm
race
saying.
jokes
like, yeah,
in 2009.
Yeah,
like,
The Office has had some really cringy bad moments that like I even can't even watch because it's just like, oh god, why are you doing this? But fuck no, Ellen DeGeneres, who should be replaced by
Eric Andre.
Eric motherfucking Andre.
I wholeheartedly support
I
that.
do too. Like, apparently Ellen though is like a toxic work environment. It's just like everybody's reported that like she's like hostile and like mean off camera to like guests, and like she'll pick on like employees or whatever. And like,
Dude,
you
how
can't,
could
like,
you
do-
not be though in that fucking situation?
But like,
She has to
I don't
interview
even think
like,
Oprah's that bad.
dude. She had to interview the fucking Walmart yodeling kid.
Good God. Well, that's just like
That little kid
season
who's-
like 16 of Ellen, where they're just kind of like giving out like interviews to whoever the fuck the next internet sensation is.
That's
It's
what I'm
just-
saying. Like she had to fucking put on a smile for like this little kid who'd been dipping since he was 2 years old and who yodeled in Walmart and became super internet famous.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So
My
she had
God,
to
the
interview
yodeled
that little shit,
Mm-hmm.
and she had to. She had to put on a smile and crack shitty jokes that her writers wrote, and she had to fucking like essentially put herself through hell. No wonder she's putting her fucking workers and her assistants through
if
hell.
your fucking job is that bad, it's not
Right.
worth doing. and
Exactly.
fucking-
Most
she's
jobs in-
putting shit like that on other people. If she was really that mean.
Most jobs in
Not
media
fucked.
and like Hollywood
It is a
are,
little
dude.
fucked, thank you. I mean, like, yeah, like Hollywood is like
Harvey Weinstein
fucked and hard, but
basically raped like almost every single major female actress in every single one of his movies for them to be in those movies. Isn't that fucked up? His lawyers knew about it too. There was a part of the contract that that every single actress and actor and like producer and whoever dealt with a movie that was produced by Harvey Weinstein or directed, I don't know what the fuck he was.
yeah, something or other.
But in the contract, it said that if you were to file a sexual assault lawsuit, you had to pay a certain amount of money to the company, to the Harvey Weinstein company. You had to pay a certain amount of money before you file the sexual assault lawsuit because it's in your contract.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez, what a
That was a real thing.
fucking conniving little bastard. Christ.
Oh, yeah. Just an absolute monster of a human
I
being.
feel like they should still take his name off like all the movies he produced.
Weinstein Productions.
The Weinstein. Yeah, God. I saw something just like kind of uncomfortable like after the fact on like some like debunking like Hollywood, like whatever the hell. It was just like all these like women like having to like thank Harvey Weinstein and like his dad or like whatever, the Weinstein Company, and like their interviews, whatever, all these people. And I just asked like how many celebrities like knew or had been affected by like Harvey Weinstein in that way, and then you just see like their expressions and everything like trying to thank these people in their interviews, and it's just like, oh God, this is just in a whole new like disgusting kind of light.
It really is.
It's bad. It just like
It's just crazy how that thing can be sheltered for so long.
yeah,
Use
right.
your mic.
And how so much and like how so much is still sheltered that we're probably not even hearing about just yet, that we probably will in like a year or two or years from now.
Years from now. God. What an absolute just monster.
I mean, Hollywood's a nightmare, but I don't really think Ellen went through enough to like make her work environment so toxic that now like everyone's talking about either canceling the Ellen show or getting a new host. Like, God, I think like it was in 2016 too. Like Ellen had the opportunity to either step away from her show, like as the host, or just cancel it, and she decided to come back in. And it's like where you decide to like come back into something that is for you, like centered around you. Maybe don't make the people like producing it like maybe you could be shitty to like celebrity guests, whatever. Fuck celebrities, but
Well, like, am I wrong? But like, Ellen was like stuck up for a lot because like people like, not persecuted, but like judged her when she was like early in her career and like,
Oh, yeah.
stuff. Like,
Oh,
so
for
she
sure.
like kind of.
and like she was acting in something I think like before she had it, and like then she kind of came out, and then like she progressed to like that next like talk show. I think I don't really know her whole career, but yeah, she came out on something because like yeah, she had been like judged and like
Well, I don't know.
whatever the hell the whole shtick was, because like yeah, whatever the hell when she did, it wasn't like it wasn't as progressive for gay people back then, and I don't know, it was basically this whole like empowering kind of thing that took over. And I mean, if you were like discriminated against like that for that long, I mean, like sure at some point, but like I feel like most of the like she's owed and deserved. It's warranted, I guess I'll say, but she shouldn't have to treat she shouldn't have to treat like her employees like on the set, like lighting, whatever the hell it was. She shouldn't have to make it like a nightmare for them.
That's terrible. That's so terrible.
But I mean, I can't say she hasn't probably had like her more than fair share of like discrimination in her life.
She probably has. I mean, she
But,
was
yeah,
she was
just-
gay at a time when it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Especially being in Hollywood at that time too. Like
Yeah.
there was fucking who's the motherfucking comedian that did if you do this you're a redneck. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I have
You
no
know,
idea.
you know who that comedian is? He
I have no idea.
they were on like a panel one time, and like this whole crowd was like asking questions, like this row of comedians,
Yeah,
and the
that
guy
shit,
sitting
sure.
next to him made a joke about being thrown out of a bar because he's like, I got.
Foxworthy.
Yeah, it wasn't Jeff Foxworthy,
Shout
though.
out
It was a
Jeff
different
Foxworthy. Oh, never mind then.
one. It was a different fucking comedian, but he. He basically he told a joke. It wasn't Jeff Foxworthy. I know. No, it wasn't him either. It was the guy that was kind of crazy.
Christy.
No, it wasn't Chris D'Elia. He made a joke about going into a bar and getting thrown out of the bar because he was in L.A. and he's like, the bouncer threw him out and he's like, why'd you throw me out? I didn't do anything wrong. And he's like, well, there's a group of gay guys who wear hats and they always try to come into this bar, and he was wearing a hat at the time. And he's like, that's how we distinguish them, is like those gay guys wear hats and we don't want gay guys in our bar. And this was like 97. This was like 99, 97-ish time.
Ooh.
And he made the joke. He's like, well, you know, where I'm from, we don't typically, you know, distinguish gay people by hats. We typically distinguish them because they got haircuts like you. And that was the joke, right?
Yeah.
But that was like 99. Like, Ellen was a comedian in 99. And she was a gay comedian. Like, she had shit to deal with back then, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Doesn't excuse any of the things. It doesn't excuse. No. It doesn't
Oh,
excuse
yeah,
any
and,
of the
like,
things that she's
I'm not
done.
saying I'm anti-Ellen. I'm not saying I'm anti like anything Ellen's about or has been about. I'm just saying like I don't think like you should be an asshole to like your employees essentially. That's just it. I've liked Ellen like for the most part. I have nothing against Ellen up until this, but I've never actually watched it personally either. So like I don't know. But like yeah, I just like I've heard like many like articles and I've like watched a couple things because I follow like different like news whatever things on Snap. But,
Well, I
like,
just saw like a clip of her like mocking the girl from Modern Family for her accent. Like I don't. It's hard to like tell like what it is and like, but I don't know. Yeah, if you said like she was
yeah, it's
just
just
being
like.
a total dick to like her.
Like yeah, there's been like
employees.
there's been like a lot of like crew members that are coming out and saying like they've been treated like kind of shitty by Ellen, like on set and
God,
like the
Ellen's
guests.
such a bitch.
And like, I don't know, Ellen's had like a fairly like spotless like image like so far too, so which is why it's like pretty surprising. It's just like, yeah, she's I'm sure she's like a nice like person, whatever, or they don't have anything against her. But yeah, it's just like I've heard that she has had like a fairly shitty reputation around people
who
she's
else?
hired.
I don't know if it was a TV show or something, but it came out that like they were just like a mean person to their employees. Like, who was that? It was pretty recent.
I have no idea.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't really fucking know either.
Yeah, it's just that's fucking weird. But we gotta eventually start wrapping this bitch up.
Oh yeah, how much are we looking at for time now?
An hour 49.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we gotta get to softball, but hey buddy, like we talked about a lot of shit.
Yeah, we got
pretty heavy in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
We got real heavy talking about, losing people that are close to us. And just know, like, I know there's so many communities out there, like whether it just be like Twitter. I know Twitter's fucked up. So is Facebook.
Yeah,
Instagram's also fucked up.
I like Twitter though.
Twitter is funny. But like there are other places where like you can talk to people about your issues, even if you don't have any loved ones that are going through the issues that you're going through. If you lose a pet on your own, or if you lose a family member, or like your dad and you're an only child and like that's the last of your family, you're the last one remaining. There's so many people you can reach out to, whether it's friends, and if sadly, your friends don't understand or your friends aren't there for you, there's other people you can reach out to online. There's people you can talk to in Twitch forums I've heard of. You can talk to people on Reddit. You can talk to people on Twitter.
All avenues online. There's a lot
exactly.
There's a lot more like avenues you could take than you think, especially online.
Exactly, and like the biggest thing I want for people to take away from this is like. The weirdest, I wanted to talk about this too. The weirdest thing about losing somebody is how time just keeps going. Is how, like, the world around you and everything that you do, it just continues. Like, in this process of losing Pierce, I've gotten emails from faculty at NDSU saying, like, you can go to counseling. There's people here for you if you need help. And they we both transferred from ICC, so they automatically assumed that we were close, in which case we were, but not everybody who transferred from ICC was. It's just the weirdest thing behind it is the fact that, like, time just keeps going.
Yeah.
Like, I still have to go back to NDSU. I still have to, go sit in the same classroom that I sat next to Pearson.
And yeah, it's really weird. Time tends to move necessarily as fast or as slow as like you perceive it to. I find myself like it moves really fast and slow for me at different points. Like I still can't believe it's gonna be like 2 years pretty soon since like my mom's been gone, and yeah, it's just like every day it's like living with ghosts almost. Like you can kind of see or remember stuff that's happened, and
yeah,
I don't know. It's just like that's almost like I almost get my second New Year like restart in like 4 days, because like that's when everything kind of like had to start again, which is weird. But like yeah, New Year's for me isn't really necessarily the start of my year. It's always been the 22nd of August.
I think if we had it our way and we got to choose how we grieved, like. I feel like if we had it our way, we would be able to like stop time for a short moment and just like sit there and just grieve. Like if we lived in a perfect world where we could control everything, we would just stop our time around us and just be able to grieve at the proper right time, and then integrate back into pure time and life as we know it.
But yeah, the world keeps spinning, keeps going, and there's a certain point where you have to jump back in. That took a little bit, probably too long to jump back in, but it's just like everything stopped like in your world for that like small section of time, and it's just like
it really does
rebuilding restructuring filling in the holes.
And it really makes you think about the things you missed out on. Not only with that person, but just in your life in general. Because I think about it, I've thought about it every single day I've thought about it probably every single minute since I found out about Pierce. Like, what if that were me? You know, the things that I haven't done, the things that I want to do, the things that I didn't do that I wanted to at the time. And it could just be even small things like, oh, I probably should have gotten that Arby's burger when I wanted it instead of starving myself that day.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't have gotten the Arby's burger that gave me the shits. It's just like those things, you know, the things you wanted to tell people that you didn't, the things you wanted to do that you didn't. It really puts a lot of things into perspective. For me, even, it really made me think like, fuck, that kid who was the smartest motherfucker that I had ever met in my entire life, like Newtonian genius levels. He comprehended things that I couldn't even fathom. And he didn't even get to graduate college. He didn't get that opportunity, and it was taken from him. It was taken from us. He was taken from us. And it really makes me think, like, fuck, I didn't get to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do, and now I'm kind of stuck in this rut where if I don't graduate college, I'm stuck in this debt that I have to pay back, that I can't just default out of, that I can't bankrupt myself out of. It's honestly shitty, but life just keeps going around you, and the hardest part is going from grieving to normal. Is coming out of that pit of grief.
Yeah, it's really just about trying to like get a feel of like what that new normal is, like perceiving like how like the future's not gonna be what you thought it was anymore.
No.
Like, not at all.
I think that's it.
But yeah, I don't know, cut it